Hi again, this is Will Ruddick, and this is the fifth installment of the Village Market Simulator series, where we talk through the basic premises of community currencies and how they affect economies. This is a new version of the simulator that I've been working on for a little while here, and wanted to step you through it. What's exciting about this one is that it's going to be on GitHub, and there's a lot of bells and whistles that you can automatically start playing with, and you can in general look at the code, which is not necessarily pretty, but might give you an idea of ways to think about currencies and simulate how they might affect economies. So in this case, we've got over here, we've got a whole bunch of villagers, people living in a community that are trading with each other, and they're also trading with an external market over here. And so this could be the nearest big city where we're actually seeing money here. So the red here is national currency moving around the system, and the green, if you see these little green guys here, these green currencies are the community currencies. And the heat that you see here, that's like a heat map, which is basically just showing where most of the trade is happening. So you can see kind of a city center going on here. When these red lines, the national currency is coming out of the external market, it's basically like it's buying services, it's buying labor from these little dudes in blue here, and so it's like salaries coming in at the end of the month, and that market is seasonal, so sometimes that money doesn't come in at the end of every month, and bad things happen because of that. So I'm going to clear this out, and we're just going to create what would be a typical suburb. So I've got a guy here that's selling his services out to this external market. So every once in a while, depending on the season, depending on the type of job, this external market here, this city in the distance, is going to be paying that labor. The labor needs something to spend it on, so let's give him a retail shop. And this retail shop is a foreign retail shop. It doesn't actually buy anything from the community, and all it's doing is importing from the bigger market there. So if I add a few more guys here, if I look at that guy, actually, you can see over here how much money he has and how much stock he has here. And eventually those guys will exhaust his stock, and he's got to replenish his stock. So the money goes in and it comes out, and it goes in and comes out, it goes in and out. And this is the situation of most suburbs in the world, in a way, where you've got your workers, and then you've got maybe McDonald's or some other importer of goods into a community, like Costco or something like that. And you can add more and more of those. And okay, so here we have a market where money's coming in and it's going out, and going in and going out. Okay, what we want to do is say, okay, let's try to create a little bit more circulation within the community. Okay, so we need to add local services and production. So this could be a school here. Okay, so now there's money going to the school. The school is still going to end up spending their money wherever they can. Right now it's just there, but let's add some production. This could be a chair manufacturer. Let's add a bit more of those and a bit more of those. And overall, we can see, what happens when when the external market shuts off. So we can see that we're adding loops here. We're saying, okay, let's add a bit more local industry. But overall, if we turn off the external market, the effect is going to be that eventually still that currency is going to flow back out of the community. So in some senses, it's not a stable market. There's no way for them to retain the currency because it's completely dependent on an external community, right? So over time, if we just let this play out, maybe we add a few more retailers here to speed it up, eventually everyone's going to spend all their money at McDonald's or whatnot, and that money doesn't stay circulating in the economy at all. It ends up just all going out of the economy. If we give this a second, you can see just kind of the trade ends up dying down. Slowly dying. And overall, you get the basic idea here, that this community is completely dependent on an external market. So what do we do to create some local sustainability in these markets? Well, more retail shops that actually spend their money into the community would be nice. So we can add a few of those, but still all we're doing essentially is taking money from the external market and we're creating a bit more loops and flows for it to circulate around, and eventually it goes back out. Well, what if we could create our own local currency? And so these guys are special service providers here, and they create vouchers based on their own goods and services and put those into existence as a currency. And so if you'll see over time, these guys down here will eventually, let's allow some more money into the system. These guys eventually start creating their own currencies, and you can see them starting to flow around here. And the idea is that they're in some ways cutting off or making the local loops of trade within the community undependent on the external market. So they'll continue to flow and flow and flow while that's going on. And if I turn off the glowing bits for the national currency, you can still see that. Okay, so you can see the market is still going on even if there's no external market supplying cash into that system. Right? There's still this flow of currency going on. And you can see that there's sort of a critical mass. You need enough local goods and service providers to really make that function. I mean, even in this simulation, we can change it. Right now, they're not employing the local labor, but that's ultimately the theory of change, is that these local businesses now would be employing that local labor if the external market ends up shutting down for any reason, and building up a thriving local community. So that's kind of our goal. You can play around here with adding a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger markets, and looking at, okay, well, what happens in these markets? What happens if the external markets turns on, turns off, and what's the overall effect on the community? So this is a fun thing you can play with. You can play with different demographics in the simulation, and you can also play with what are the logistics, like how are they deciding to accept the currency, how are they issuing the currency, and what creates stable marketplaces in the absence of and in the presence of the national currency. How do those two actually work together? So I hope you have fun with this. Check it out on GitHub, and have a great day.